In 1999, an anthropologist found a small container in Blombos Cave on the southern coast of Africa. Inside, a mixture of red pigment, crushed bone, and animal fat. The object was 100,000 years old. Not a ritual object, not medicine, not food. The first known cosmetic kit on the planet. Someone mixed this to look better for someone specific, 100,000 years ago. Before language, before cities, before anything we'd recognize as civilization. And here's what I can't stop thinking about. You still do the exact same thing. You just have words for it now. There's one detail about human biology that almost nobody talks about, but it changed everything. Most mammals, chimpanzees, baboons, dogs, clearly signal when a female is fertile. Visibly, obviously, to everyone nearby. But human females hid it. No visible signals, no clear schedule. One invisible moment in the female body, and everything we understand as a relationship shifted.
Roughly 500,000 years ago. Nobody decided this consciously. It just happened. Because if a man doesn't know exactly when a woman might conceive, he has to stay close. All the time. Show up. Bring food. Be useful. That is the foundation of human pair bonding, not romance. Evolutionary uncertainty. And here's the thing. In chimpanzees, where ovulation is visible, males don't form stable pairs at all. Comparative primatology research shows that long-term pair bonding, the kind humans do, is genuinely rare among primates. Almost all of our relatives live in harems or in complete promiscuity. Only we do something like together. All because of one molecular change. But there's another side to this story, one I stumbled onto by accident, and I haven't looked at courtship the same way since. If a female is theoretically available all the time, males stopped courting seasonally.
It became a full-time job. If you constantly have to demonstrate your value, what did that actually look like? What did they do? The answer showed up in the least expected place. Among the Hadza, one of the last hunter-gatherer tribes in Tanzania, there's a tradition that goes back thousands of years. Men climb the highest trees, take hundreds of bee stings, and come back with honey anyway. Not because they're hungry, because honey is a message. Anthropologist Brian Wood studied the Hadza for years and found something strange. Men who brought back the most honey had more romantic partners. But here's the paradox. The honey was immediately shared with the whole camp. The hunter himself got one of the worst cuts, so why bother? Evolutionary biology has a term for this, costly signaling. The idea is almost embarrassingly simple. If something genuinely cost you, you're not just talking, you're showing. 100 bee stings aren't words. Your ancestors didn't need Tinder. They needed honey. Now tell me honestly, how much do you spend on a first date? More than you need to? More than you'd spend on yourself at home? If so, you're paying for honey. You're sending the same signal, just without the bees. 40,000 years is, honestly, almost recent, because there's something older. 40,000 years ago, in the caves of the Swabian Alb in southern Germany, someone carved a flute from a vulture bone, the oldest musical instrument ever found on Earth. For a long time, scientists assumed it was a ritual object. Then another theory appeared, one that's far less flattering about human nature. Learning to play takes time, time that, in a Hadza camp, could have been spent hunting or sleeping. That's the signal. I can afford to spend resources on something useless, which means I have enough. Evolutionary psychologist Jeffrey Miller spent years on one question. Why does music exist at all? From a survival standpoint, it's useless. It doesn't provide warmth. It doesn't scare off predators. His conclusion? It was a showroom. Every time someone played well around the fire, it was an unspoken announcement. Look at my brain. It's not bad. Darwin said the same thing back in the 19th century, long before it was academically acceptable. He believed musical ability evolved through sexual selection, like a peacock's tail, not for survival, for attraction. And here's the detail that will ruin music festivals for you forever. A study from the University of Edinburgh found that women rate male musicians as significantly more attractive as potential partners, even when their physical appearance is identical. Not as interesting people, as partners. Music isn't the backdrop for a date. Music is the date. So the next time you share a playlist with someone you like, know that you're recreating the sound of a vulture bone, just in a different format. Let's go back to that container of ochre we started with. 100,000 years ago.
Someone sat and mixed pigment, bone, and fat, not to survive, to be noticed. People were applying red pigment to their skin long before art, writing, or organized religion existed. The answer researchers give sounds almost too obvious. To look good, to stand out, to get one specific person to look your way. Red is not a coincidence, and it's not a metaphor. Psychologist Andrew Elliott's research showed it increases perceived attractiveness across cultures. In one experiment, the same photograph of a woman, one in red, one in blue, and men rated the woman in red as more attractive and said they'd spend more money on a date with her. They didn't know why, they just felt it. 100,000 years of one specific pigment, and you still respond. Your ancestor had no word for cosmetics, but what he did, and what you do, is the same thing. He just didn't have a mirror to double-check. Now, dancing. Because this one is especially honest. Among the Hadza, researchers noticed the best dancers in camp have more children. That's not a coincidence. Dance is one of the most honest biological signals in nature. You can't dance well with poor coordination, a weak vestibular system, or chronic stress. Researchers at Northumbria University motion captured dancers and found the moves women rated most attractive correlated directly with a man's physical symmetry and fitness. Dance is a free, involuntary medical exam. Have you ever noticed that people who dance well seem more attractive, even when they look completely ordinary otherwise? That's not a subjective feeling, that's diagnosis. Your brain is reading coordination, symmetry, and the absence of stress, and drawing a conclusion. Nightclub culture in the 21st century is the same arena, just with better lighting and worse acoustics. There's one more signal I underestimated for a long time. In couples, women laugh at their partner's jokes significantly more than men do, and women are far more likely to choose partners who make them laugh. Psychologist Robert Provine spent decades studying laughter in real conversations. One of his findings? That laughter isn't just a reaction to a joke. It's an expression of choice. Because being genuinely funny is hard. You have to understand what someone expects, then flip it at exactly the right moment. A little too early, not funny. A little too late, also not funny. It's a precision strike. And if you land it, you just showed someone how your mind works. A funny person is a person whose brain is faster than expectations. That's what makes it attractive. Your ancestor who made the whole camp laugh around the fire had a real advantage. And today, if your first message to someone you like is funny, you're running a strategy thousands of generations old. Research by Christopher Siver at the University of New Mexico found the most creative men, poets, musicians, writers, have on average more sexual partners over their lifetime, not because they're more interesting, because creativity is a demonstration of cognitive quality. Same flute, same honey, just in the form of metaphors and chord progressions. But there's one more thing worth saying. All of these signals, honey, music, ochre, dance, humor, they're all saying the same thing. I have something to spend on you, not in words, in time, in effort, in risk, in attention. You can feel when it's real and when it isn't, not because you're smart, because that ability to tell a real signal from a fake one is 100,000 years old too, maybe more. The rules have changed,
The tools have changed. But what happens inside you when you want to impress someone specific? You didn't invent that. It's a very, very old piece of code. And it's still running. Your ancestors had no profile, no compatibility algorithm. They had fire, honey, red paint, and a bone flute. And somehow it worked. I still don't fully understand how, but the evidence is undeniable. You're here. That's the proof.